on Inside Out. How are y'all doing this evening? That is so great to hear. Well, my name is Olivia, and whether it's your first time here or you've been with us before, I am so excited that you guys have decided to join us here this evening. We have a lot of super cool things planned for you guys. First, we're going to be playing a really fun game involving these pumpkins over here. Then I have a really important announcement for you guys. And lastly, Matt Keeney will be up here to kick off our new series, Thief of Everything. Now, before we get started with all that, we are deep into our Halloween season, which means some trick-or-treating, passing out candy, eating candy. So I want to hear what y'all's favorite candy to eat on Halloween is. Okay, so everybody think of it. And on the count of three, y'all are going to say it, okay? 1, 2, 3. I heard a lot of good choices, some interesting choices. Personally, I love the pumpkin-shaped Reese's Peanut Butter Cups because they obviously taste way better than the regular ones. So that's just a personal choice, though. But now that we've asked that question, we are ready to kick off our service. So for this game, I'm gonna need one girl and one guy from each grade. So freshman girls, be sure to bring somebody up here. Yeah? Are you a freshman guy? Sophomore guy? Perfect. Make sure we're grabbing everyone. Perfect. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Okay. We got 1, 2, 3. We need one more guy. We're hearing a lot of cheering back there. We gonna come on up? You know you want to. Awesome. And we have 4, 5. We have big. Okay. I'm gonna have y'all say your name and what small group you're from. So just name and grade, basically.
George Seniors.
Hi, I'm Dakota, and I'm with the senior girls.
I'm Addie, I'm junior girls.
I'm Caleb, and I'm junior boys.
I'm Addie, I'm with sophomore girls.
I'm Chloe, and I'm freshman girls.
I'm Jonathan, and I'm freshman boys.
I'm Carmine, I'm from sophomore boys.
Awesome, a lot of spirit. Maybe that'll help you. So this game is called Pumpkin Bowling. And so in this game, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I don't think any of y'all, or maybe few of y'all, have bowled with pumpkins before. So there's an X down there, beautiful X that's bright and green. And you're gonna go down there with the same person that's in your grade. And you guys are gonna be bowling and trying to knock over those pins. And one at a time from each grade, y'all are gonna bowl it. And whoever has the highest points from the girl or the guy is gonna move on to the next round. And then we're gonna play a couple rounds, and then whoever wins is gonna get some Halloween treats for their small group. So I know some of y'all are gonna be wanting that, but does anybody think they're really good at bowling over here? You bowled? Nice. We got a bowler up here. Any of y'all bowl? No? Well, don't worry, there's a first time for everything. So I'm gonna have the freshman girl and the freshman guy go down there. So freshman girl, freshman guy, go ahead and head down there. And then grab a pumpkin. Perfect. And y'all can use the same one, different one, whatever you want. Perfect. And then I'm gonna have our freshman girls go first, because ladies first. And you're gonna step on the X, but you cannot go past the X, and you're gonna try to knock over the pins. So go ahead and go whenever you're ready. Oh, that's okay, that's okay. If Johnny doesn't get any, then y'all can re-roll, so perfect. So let's see, Johnny. Don't worry, then you guys get to re-roll. How perfect is that? We'll get the pumpkin back. That was just a practice round. Don't even worry about it, don't even worry about it. Perfect. Okay, we got our girls back up. Oh, a strike, great job. Now, if you don't get a strike, then you'll be gone, Johnny. A lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. Can he do it? Let's see, let's see, let's see. Anytime now, Johnny, anytime. Oh, so that means our freshman girls will be moving on to the next round. So Johnny, thank you so much for playing. You can come back on up here. We'll get some of our pumpkins back. And then our sophomore girls and sophomore guys, go ahead and go down there. And again, ladies first, as always. Perfect. Okay, so you can't go past the green X, but you can go wherever else you want. Oh, just missed it. That's okay. Let's see. Yeah, you can use. Can we get that one back, Bryce? That's the lucky pumpkin. Perfect, perfect. Let's see, let's see. Can he do it? Will he do it? Great job. So you will be moving on to our next round. You can come back up on here. Great job to both of our players. And now junior guy, junior girl, come on down. Pick any pumpkin. You can have the same pumpkin, different pumpkins, whatever you want. Whatever you choose. And of course, ladies first. We got a nice lucky pumpkin over here. You got it. Let's see. Just missed, but you never know if he doesn't make this one. But he is the Pro Bowler, so watch out. He's eyeing it. Wow. But both missed, but y'all can go again. Don't worry. We got to get a winner somehow. That's okay. Another round. Practice round. That was just a practice round. This is the real deal now. And that's okay. That's okay. You could still have another shot. He's testing out the sizes. Did you already go? Did you just go? You can give that one to him. Perfect, if he wants it. Perfect. Make some noise for your small group. Wow, we got another. That's okay. We'll just keep going again until you get it. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. I personally wouldn't even be able to get one either, so that's okay. You were so close that time too, so that's okay. Thank you for the hustle, Bryce. Oh, knocked the stem off, but just right there. So our junior guys will be singing, so you can go ahead and stay up on the stage. But now our seniors, go ahead and head down there. Perfect. Now, are you guys ready? You guys are our last of the first round. I believe in y'all. Y'all got this. Eye on the prize. A new strategy has entered, and it got a strike. Great job. Let's see if our senior boys can pull the strike out though too. No pressure, but you need all of them down in order to stay. So let's see. Let's see if you can do it. Make some noise if your small group's up here. And a miss. So Dakota will be staying, but great job to the senior guys, great effort. So now we're gonna be moving into our next round. And so for this one, we will have whoever gets the highest score out of all four of y'all will win the prize, okay? How are you feeling right now?
Good.
Good. Do you think you're gonna win?
I don't know.
Hey, confidence is key, so how are you feeling right now?
Fine.
Fine, that's it? Any other emotions?
No.
Okay, awesome. How are you feeling right now?
Excited.
Excited! Best one of the day.
I'm ready to win.
Ready to win. Okay, so I'm gonna have each one of y'all head down one at a time. So our freshman is gonna go ahead and head down right now. You can pick any pumpkin you like. Anyone you like. And you only get one shot. Only one, no practice rounds. But you got it. Whenever you're ready. And a miss. But you're gonna go ahead and stay up here because maybe nobody else gets it. So you never know. Our sophomore's gonna head down. Make some noise if that's your small group. Aw, awesome. Let's see, let's see. And another miss. But you never know. Maybe everybody's gonna miss. You never know. Let's see if our pro bowler over here can pull one out. You gotta test the sizes. We got a good strategy over here going. What a great strategy. Good strategy. Wow, a really good strategy. And he has 8 knocked over, an 8. Now we got our senior girl. Now, do you think you can knock all of them down?
Probably not, but
You did it before. Why can't you do it again? Let's see. Awesome. We're testing them out. Perfect. She already knows which one she wants. You got it. Slow momentum. So our senior girls have won. Congrats. Great job. All of y'all did so good, but I will get you your treats, Dakota.
thanks.
Make some noise for Dakota. Great job, great job. That was so great. Personally, I don't think I would have even been able to knock down one without rolling a pumpkin. I'm not a good bowler in general, so great job to y'all. But like I said, we have a really, really important announcement, and that is that House of Torment is coming up so soon. Who's excited about House of Torment? I need more noise, I need more noise. Who's excited? We'll get better, we'll get better. But that is coming up so soon, so you guys are definitely gonna wanna register. How that Sunday is going to work is that we're gonna start Inside Out at 3:15. So we're gonna have our normal Inside Out service per the usual. And then at 4:15, we're gonna get on some buses and head down over there. And we'll be having so much fun. Now, if you guys aren't a fan of haunted houses, which I know personally, I hate clowns, so might be a scary experience for me. But you guys don't have to go into the houses if you don't want. And you guys can actually pay a less amount if you're not gonna go into the houses. You only have to pay $20 instead of $40. So you can cheer on your small group for the people that are going in and have loads of fun without even having to go inside. And everybody who registers will get some limited edition Inside Out merch, which is really, really cool. So you're definitely not gonna wanna miss out on that. But go ahead and scan the QR code up here so that you guys can register, because you're definitely not gonna wanna miss out on our fun Halloween plans. So go ahead, get your phones out. Get your phones out. Awesome, awesome. Great job, guys. And that is all I have for you guys. So now Matt Keeney will be up here to kick off our new series.
All right, Inside Out. Here we go. Let's get this out of the way right now. I am not a Cowboys fan. Here's what happened. I lost a bet. And here's why you should never bet, Cowboys fans in particular, because they're going to want you to publicly wear Cowboys gear. So Carter, thank you for the hoodie. Any Patriots fans in here? Anybody like the New England Patriots? Nobody. I'm alone in that. Cool, that's good. I just heard they got blown out by the Saints as well, 34-0. So it's been a good couple weeks here. If this is your first time to Inside Out, I just want to say welcome to you guys. I'm so grateful that y'all are here. And I would like to start off tonight by introducing you to the very first thief that I met in my life. If we're starting this new series, Thief of Everything, I want you guys to meet the first thief I met in my life, and it was this guy right up here. It's my dad. This photo is grainy because it's from 10 years ago. It was almost black and white, but this is my dad. He's an awesome guy, but he's the very first thief I met in my life. When I was younger, I would always do travel baseball, and we would travel around Texas, but we would also go to Florida. We would also go to the Northeast. We would go to California, Arizona, all these places. We would go do travel baseball. My dad was the person who always went with me. And if you do travel baseball, you stay at hotels, and you never eat like a home-cooked meal. So what would happen is me and my dad, we would stop by McDonald's or Whataburger or Wendy's, and we would go grab a quick burger and fries, and we would go through the drive-thru. And here's what my dad used to do when I was young. We would order, and then we would go up to the window, and my dad would grab the bag of food. He would open up the food, and he would take some fries to, like, test it, like, just to make sure the fries were good, even though every McDonald's fry is like every single McDonald's fry. It's going to be the same over and over and over and over again. But his weird rule for me was always he would test the fries, but I wasn't allowed to eat until we got back to the hotel, which I always thought was weird growing up. Then when we get back to the hotel, he would hand me my food, and he would hand me my carton of fries, and it would be always the carton of fries that got got taken from him. And I'd be like, Dad, why did you take from my carton of fries? Why wouldn't you take from your carton of fries? You also ordered fries. And he would always try to twist this into some life lesson. Have your parents ever done something and then they try to make a life lesson out of it? It's the weirdest thing in the entire world. It makes no sense. But my dad would always be like, Matt, that's how life is. Sometimes you're going to have fries taken from you, and sometimes it's bigger than that, right? And I was like, Dad, that makes no sense whatsoever. So my dad still to this day is the biggest thief that I have ever met in my life. And this was the first time I was ever exposed to someone taking something from me. And maybe you've experienced something similar, maybe not to that silly extent, but some of you guys have experienced, all of us have experienced before at one point or another, something taken from us. Maybe for you, it was like personal property, like you left your phone somewhere and somebody took your phone, or maybe it was something like you have a sibling and they took your clothes, or whatever it may be. We've all had people take something from us before. Maybe for you, it felt like you were owed something and you didn't actually get that thing, right? You worked so hard in class and you didn't get the grade that you thought you deserved, and it feels like you just got robbed of something that you thought you deserved. Or maybe it was a spot on the team, like you work so hard all off season and you work and you work and you work and you think you deserve it, but then in reality you don't actually get it. It feels like you were robbed of something. Maybe it's not something as practical or tangible. Maybe it's just like an emotion, right? You're hanging out with someone or you're hanging out with a group of friends. It feels like over time they like have taken your joy. They've like taken your happiness. Feels like over time, it feels like just this emotion that you feel like is yours has been taken from you. The reality is that we've all been on the other side of a thief. We've all been on the other side of someone or something being taken away from us. And that's what I want to talk about starting today over the next couple of weeks. We're starting this brand new series called The Thief of Everything. And in reality, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about one thing and one thief that we've all experienced, especially in the 4 years of high school. And let me just be honest with you guys. This thief is so loud, especially during these 4 years. It's the voice in our head that has been taking something away from us, maybe day after day after day. And maybe for some of you guys, you experience it more than others. But the reality is we've all experienced this thief in life. Before I tell you what this thief is, I want to tell you on a time that Jesus spoke directly in terms of what thieves do to us and how this affects us on a day-to-day basis. In this moment, Jesus is talking about an actual thief. He's talking about the enemy. In church, you may refer to him as Satan. He talks about him this way. He says, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. This is what thieves do. They steal, they kill, and destroy, specifically talking about Satan in this moment. But the reality is that this thief that we're talking about tonight can steal and rob your happiness. This thief that we're talking about tonight can kill any progress that you try to make in life. This thief that we're talking about tonight can destroy how you see yourself, how you see other people, and honestly, how you see the world and how you approach the world as well. The thief that we're going to be talking about tonight and really going to be building a conversation with over the next couple of weeks is the thief called comparison. Comparison is the thief of everything. And the reason why I say it is so loud in our life, especially during the 4 years of high school, is maybe you're in here tonight and you would say, man, comparison is very loud in my life. Like, it feels like I wake up and I go on social media and I'm constantly just comparing. Right? Or maybe for you, it's one of these things where you are in the classroom and you're constantly wondering what other people got on the quiz or the test, not because you actually care what other people got on the quiz or test, you just want to see how you measure up against them. If you're a senior, you're wondering, man, who got accepted into what university? Maybe because you care about that person, but maybe there's a small part of you and you're wondering, man, I want to see if I can get into a better university than them. Comparison is loud, especially during the 4 years of high school. And comparison affects us in so many different ways, in a lot of different ways. Comparison can affect your relationships with one another, and comparison has so many more layers to that. I want to tell you guys a few ways comparison affects you and affects me as human beings on a day-to-day basis. Number one, comparison gives us this distorted view of our self-esteem. Self-esteem really just practically means how I'm feeling about myself in the moment. And when we look to the left and when we look to the right, when we look at others, it gives us a skewed version of our self-esteem. for both good and bad reasons, right? When we feel like, or I don't know if you guys have ever caught yourself saying, man, I wish I could be more like blank. Or I wish I had what blank had, right? And it feels like you're not measuring up to some standard that's been set. And it feels like, man, if I could just reach that standard, if I could be close to that standard, if I could just have a resemblance of that standard, I would feel better about myself. Or have you ever caught yourself on the flip side of that saying, man, at least I'm not like blank. Like I look at their life and I look at how they treat people and I look at kind of the ins and outs of their day to day and I feel better about myself. Right? This is how comparison can affect us both in both ways, right? We can look and say, man, I'm not reaching a standard. Or we can look at ourselves and say, I am the standard and you're not meeting my standard. It gives us a distorted view of our self-esteem. Number two, it impairs our relationships, right? There are 0 relationships. Think of any relationship in your life, right? Brother-sister relationship, family relationship, dating relationship, any friendship in your life, right? There are 0 relationships that thrive if there's constant comparison or constant competition, right? If you have a sibling and you're constantly wondering if our parents love me more than they love my brother or sister, like what do I have to do to look better in their eyes, right? That means we're playing this comparison game. We're trying to one up. We're trying to be better than somebody else, right? We're trying to kind of make it sound like or be in this self-image mode where it's like, I just want to look better on the other side of you. And we will do things, we will say things, we will do whatever we possibly can to look a certain way because we're looking to the left or the right. The third thing is it's just an inauthentic living, right? When we see a standard or when we say, man, this is the standard that I'm trying to reach in whatever it is, if it's in the classroom, if it's sports, if it's dating relationships, if it's social media, if we just put like a standard out there, we see something and if we feel like we're not measuring up to that thing or to that person, the reality is that we can get tempted to try to do or try to be whoever that person is. We see what they wear, we see how they talk, we see what they post, we see all these different types of things. And the reality is like, man, I see the type of friendships they have, I see how close and connected that they are, and I'm going to do whatever I possibly can to be like that. So I'm going to go to places I've never gone before. I'm going to say things I've never said before. I'm going to do things I've never done before just so I could have the potential to have what they have. These are 3 reasons that comparison affects us on a day-to-day basis. But I think the number one reason that comparison affects us and the reason why I'm so passionate about this and the reason why I personally believe it might be the loudest thing that you experience, especially during the 4 years of high school. The number one way that comparison affects us is comparison is the thief of everything God desires for you. When we think about God, maybe you're in here today and you're not really sure what to believe about God. If God is real, the truth is that he desires something good for you. And comparison is the thing, it's the thief that robs everything that God actually desires for you. Maybe you're in here today and you're like, okay, comparison is loud in my life. I look at some standard that's out there and I want to reach it, or I look at myself and I feel like I am the standard. And comparison is loud in my life that way. If that's you in the room today, I want to talk to the person in the room and I want to talk to the group of people in the room that feels like this is a constant battle to them. Maybe you're in here today and you're like, okay, I don't really compare myself to somebody else. And I would kind of push back on that and say, there might be some areas in your life that maybe I didn't say or might be unspoken that you tend to compare yourself with, if it's in the family or in the classroom or on the field or whatever it may be. But I want to talk to the group of people in here today that would say, comparison is so loud in my life that I don't really know who I am or I don't really know who I'm trying to be. Because I feel like there's a certain standard that I got to be so that I can have people accept me. Right? Because that's really the main motivation, right? A lot of times we look to the left and right really for the sole purpose of, man, I want what they have. I see the connections that they have. I want to be accepted like they're being accepted. And in high school, we desire acceptance. And you should. It's an okay thing to want, is to be accepted by other people. But if you're in here tonight, I just want you guys to start thinking about this question because we're going to talk about this tonight and we're going to talk about it over the next couple of weeks as well. Where in your life do you feel like you are finding yourself comparing yourself to others? If you had to think about it for a second, is it in the classroom Are you trying to measure up? Are you trying to look the best? Do you really care what other people got on the quiz or test? Or do you just want to see if you're better or worse than them? Is it on the field, right? Man, I got to work so hard so that the coach will notice me. I see how the coach is noticing and talking to that person. That must be one of their favorites. What do I have to do so that I can be noticed like they are noticed, right? Is it at home? Man, I'm exhausting myself for my parents' attention. I really want them to notice me. I really want them to know that I'm trying to be a good child because my brother and my sister, it feels like they're the golden child, and I'm here, and I just want to be accepted more by them. So for you, where in your life do you find yourself comparing yourself to everybody else or to somebody else or to some standard that is out there? That's what we want to talk about not only tonight but over the next couple of weeks. Now, what's so interesting is that the Bible has a lot to say about comparison. When you start opening up the pages of the New Testament, you start to see that the Apostle Paul, who's one of the writers of the New Testament, he actually speaks directly to this point, and he says something that's so fascinating that I think is so common in our culture today, especially during the 4 years of high school, that I think if we just understood that we actually have a potential and temptation to just do these things, and maybe if we took a step back and tried a different approach, it could change everything about the way we see ourselves and our self-esteem and our relationships and our freedom going forward. In this passage, what we're going to look at, he's specifically talking about how preachers in the first century would compare themselves to one another. They would say, well, I preach the gospel the best, and I'm the best communicator, and I'm this, and I'm that. And Paul's writing to this church, and he's basically telling them to stop it. But then he says this phrase that I think is so important to our conversation today. He says they are only comparing themselves with each other, using themselves as the standard of measurement. This is comparison as a definition. This is what comparison looks like in our day-to-day. And this is why I love the Bible, is even though it's thousands of years old, the reality is that we can look at it and there are still simple truths that are relevant in our life today, that we experience today. He says they are using themselves as a standard of measurement, and we do this in our life as well. The reality is, when you're looking to the left and to the right, you are looking at somebody else who is doing something better or doing something worse than you. We use ourselves as the standard of measurement. A great example of this. For 95% of the room in here today, if you were to stand next to me and compare our heights, you would put yourself in a category of tall, okay? If you were standing next to Shaquille O'Neal, 7'1" basketball player, if you were standing next to him, you would no longer be in that category. We use ourselves as a standard of measurement. Now, I think I'm a really good singer, right? But if I was to sing, which I'm not going to do, so don't worry about it. If I was to sing right now, I would think I'm pretty good. You guys wouldn't, right? Because you have a comparison. If I was to sing next to Taylor Swift, I couldn't sing at all, right? See, this is the reality where there's always somebody in our life, right? There's always somebody in our life. No matter what we think or view ourselves as, there's always somebody in our life that we compare ourselves to. And we can let that, if we're not careful, define who we think we are, our value. When we use ourselves as a standard of measurement, the reality and what you're going to find, and maybe this is where you're at in your life right now. When we use ourselves as the standard of measurement, what we come to find is that there's always somebody better. There's always somebody, whatever it is, somebody going to be stronger. There's somebody going to be smarter. There's somebody going to be prettier. There's going to be somebody who has that whatever it is, whatever standard that you're trying to reach up to. The reality is that when you use somebody else as the standard of measurement, you are going to run into somebody who's got something that you want. And when you look at it, you're going to view yourself in a certain way based off that. In the Old Testament, it talks about this idea of comparison. It's like chasing after the wind, right? How many of you guys have ever ran outside and tried to chase wind before? You don't, because that's ridiculous, right? But just imagine that tonight what you would do is you would go outside and you would run around and you would try to chase wind. What happens when you finally catch the wind? You catch the wind, you open up your hands, and what do you have? You have nothing. Comparison can drive us in our life to chase, to work as hard as I possibly can so that I can feel the way that they feel about themselves, so that I can love myself and see myself the way that they love themselves and see themselves, right? A lot of times, subconsciously or consciously, when we look to the left and right, what we're basically saying is this kind of phrase: I only have worth worth if. I only have worth if. Man, when I look to the left and right, I want what they want. I want to be accepted like they're accepted. I want to feel loved the way that they are loved, right? And I feel like I have to do something in order to get that value and get that worth, right? I only have worth if I make varsity. Because I see how they play, I see how the coaches notice them, and I feel like I would be valuable and worthy if I make varsity. I'm only worth it, or I'm only worthy if I make that school, if I get accepted into that school. I'm only worthy if somebody sees me and somebody says that I'm worthy. I'm only worthy if. We start saying these phrases to ourselves over and over and over again when we start looking to the left and right. But that's because we're using ourselves as a standard of measurement. And let me just tell you guys, we are not the standard of measurement. And that feels so countercultural to say, because everywhere we look, social media, in the classroom, on the field, in our home, whatever it may be, we are looking to the left and we're looking to the right. But that does not define your worth. The reality is that you have a perfect heavenly Father from the beginning of time who has decided your worth and decided that you are worth it. Maybe you're in here tonight and you're not really sure what to believe about God, but for a second, just imagine with me. Imagine if God is actually real. That in and of itself, we could stop in our tracks. Imagine if God is real. And if God is real, the reality is that he created you intentionally, on purpose, for a purpose. And if that is true, there is a reason I've got breath in my lungs and there's a reason you got breath in your lungs. There is something good for you. But the reality is when we look to the left and look to the right, we can miss what God has for us specifically. And if comparison is so loud in our life, what we start to realize is daily, we can start to miss what God has for us right in front of us, day after day after day. So what do? The writer of Hebrews gives us this kind of clear image of what we should do in this moment. He says this in Hebrews 12. He says, therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything. You guys know the word for everything? It really means everything in life. Let us throw off everything that we could experience that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance. Perseverance, as hard and as fast as I possibly can. Perseverance, the race marked out for, here's our word, us, me. Not run as fast as you possibly can for the person that's next to you, to the left and to the right of you, but your race. Run your race. That's what the writer of Hebrews is saying. What do? Fix our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. The reality is when we look to the left and right, we can miss Jesus. We can miss what he has for us. That if he really created us, he has something marked out and good for us, because that's his character. God is love. He cares for us, and he has something good for you. But daily, we can miss it if we look to the left or right. How many of you guys, show of hands, has seen somebody run track or runs track? Show of hands. Okay, most of us, all of us, hopefully. Okay, if we're running track, let's get that picture up here. If we're running track, the reality is when that starting gun goes off, okay, when that starting gun goes off and you're running track, you are running as hard as you possibly can. Let's say it's a 100-meter dash. You're trying to run as hard as you possibly can. The reality is what happens when you're running track and you're looking to the left and to the right. There's a couple things that happen. When you're looking to the left and right, here's what happens. One of the things that happens is you take your eye off the finish line. You kind of lose direction in this race. You don't know where you're going if you're looking to the left and looking to the right. Second thing is you slow down. You don't get to the finish line as fast because your focus is off of what matters most. Other things that happen is you can drift into somebody's lane, you can trip, you can fall, you end up not running your race. This is the same thing with comparison. If we are running the race that God has marked out for each and every single one of us, if he's got a plan for your life, the reality is the longer we look to the left and right, the more we get confused about what God actually has for us. But the more we are open-handed and say, God, today, I don't need to know about 5 years. I don't need to know about 10 years from now. But today, what do you have for me? And how can I more understand of how you've created me and have loved me and have given your life for me through your son, Jesus? See, the point is that you can't win anybody else's race. You can only run yours. In this life, if you look to the left and right, somebody's always going to have more. Someone's always going to be running faster or running a different race than you. You can only win your race. And how amazing could it be if you started to understand what God has for you individually in this life? The purpose, the bottom line of this message is that when we fix our eyes on Jesus daily, it's a daily invitation. When we fix our eyes on Jesus, comparison fades and contentment begins. I'm not saying comparison goes away, because even at 25 years old, there are days in my life where I'm looking to the left and right. There are going to be areas of your life where you tend to compare on a day-to-day basis. I'm not saying it completely goes away, but it's a reminder that it's a daily invitation to keep your eyes focused on what matters most. And what matters most is your individual personal relationship with your Creator, with Jesus, your Savior. And you know what contentment really feels like? You know what contentment sounds like? Contentment sounds like this: because of Jesus, I am enough. We strive for approval. The reason why we are looking to the left and right is we want to see what we can do to be loved more, to be accepted more. But the reality is when you start to understand a little bit more of God, how God has wired you, and the extent that he has gone to show his love for you, and you start to understand that he has something good for you in this next step in life, when you start to fully comprehend and understand that, you start to realize that, man, it's not about my grades, even though those matter. Like, I'm okay. I'm enough, even if my grades don't reflect it. I'm not saying those things don't matter, but I really am enough. I am enough, even if I don't make varsity. I'm not saying you shouldn't try. I'm not saying that you shouldn't put your best foot forward. But even if I don't, because of Jesus Christ, I am enough. Doesn't matter what school I get into and accepted to. Not saying you shouldn't try. Not saying you shouldn't care about that. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be okay. I'm enough. Because you know what? God is my standard of measurement. And how he views me and how he sees me is he sees me, when I place my faith and trust in his son Jesus, as a child of his. That I am loved unconditionally. That his grace is never ending for me. So when I start to discover that and keep my eyes fixed on that truth, man, it doesn't really matter too much what other people are doing. And for a second, I just want you to imagine the freedom that you can feel. If comparison feels like a prison, imagine the freedom you can feel when you start to do this daily. When you start to say, man, God has something good for me in this life, and I want to discover what that actually is. So here's what I would want you guys to do. Starting this conversation, I want you guys to come back next week, invite a friend, because I think this is one of the most important conversations that we could have at Inside Out. There's two things tonight that I would love for you guys to just try this week. Just maybe when you get home tonight, maybe tomorrow, there's two things that I just want you guys to really be intentional with this week. And regardless of what you believe about God, everybody can do this in the room. Number one, I want you guys to discover what God says about your worth and value. Man, when you start really intentionally living out and digging in to your personal relationship with God, and you start to discover that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that you are not here by accident, that even though somebody else may be running a different race and maybe going a little bit faster than you, God still has something good for you right here. But don't miss it. Don't take your eyes off it. And we take our eyes off it anytime we go to the left or to the right. But discover what he says about you. And I promise you, when you start to discover that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and remind yourself of that truth daily, it changes how you approach and run your race. The second thing, it sounds very simple, but run your race. Don't run anybody else's. You can't win anybody else's race. When comparison feels loud in your life and you wish you were like, or you wish you weren't like, or you're glad that you're not, right? When comparison is loud in your life, the best thing that you can remind yourself of is, I am running a race. I am in my lane. What is my next step? My next step, not somebody else's. What is my next step? What is the race that I'm running? Jesus offers an invitation of full life, to live life to the full. to come follow the adventure of Christianity. He always says, follow me. And when you follow him and you follow his direction, you are walking away from something else. You are walking away from a life of discontentment to a life full of joy, peace, and love on a daily basis when he says, follow me. And full life that Jesus offers, I'm going to be honest with you guys, full life that Jesus offers is impossible when we compare. And again, like I'm saying, comparison can happen daily. But when that happens, how can we remind ourselves that God is my standard of measurement? Nothing else in this world matters. A couple years ago, when I was 21 years old, I would like to call that year of my life the crisis of Matt's comparison issues. Comparison has been the loudest thing in my life out of all the things that we could talk about at Inside Out. When I think about all the different topics, comparison is the thing that has robbed the most of my life, that has robbed the most of my joy, my happiness, my peace, and my contentment. And when I was 21 years old, it kind of reached a breaking point. I suffered from panic attacks kind of like on a weekly basis. And the main reason for that is because I was constantly looking to the left and right. I'm so grateful that I have an amazing group of friends who I love so dearly. But when I constantly was around them, I always felt inadequate because I was constantly looking at the races that they were running, and I would constantly miss what God had for me in the moment. When I think back a couple years ago and I think about all my close friends, I was the only one at that time who was not pursuing a college degree or had a college degree. And I would look at all of them and I'd be like, man, did I make a mistake? Did I mess up? Gosh, why was I so stupid? And I was saying all these awful things about myself because I was constantly not running my race. I was the only one who did not have a college degree or was on a path for that. I was the only one of my friend group who was not involved in a serious relationship or married at that point. And constantly I'd be like, man, what is wrong with me? Why can't I have what they have? Why can't I experience what they have? And I would constantly be like, man, am I doing something wrong? I was the only one. I didn't know the amount of money that they were making, but I work in ministry. I don't know if you guys know too much about the salary there. But the reality is, I looked at all their other jobs, and I was like, man, should I be doing what they're doing? Should I quit? Should I walk away? Should I take a step back? I would constantly have resentment towards what I was doing, the opportunity that I had. I would be angry, and I would be frustrated, because I was constantly running not my race. And I promise you guys, and maybe the comparison has affected you guys in this way, it would take me out. I didn't want to be around my friends anymore. I would constantly isolate myself, become lonely, push away, because as long as I was around them, it was so hard for me to keep my eyes focused on anything but that. When I was 21, I heard a pastor, his name is Craig Rochelle. He asked a question that is a question for all of us tonight, but it radically shifted how I approach this kind of topic of comparison. He had a message about comparison, and he talked about it's kind of chasing after the wind, and it's not worth it. God has called us to run our race. And he ended this sermon with this. He said, who or what are you going to let define your worth? Who or what are you going to let, because it's a choice, it's a decision, who are you going to let define your worth? And if I could just talk for a second to the Christians in the room, if you've made that step to follow Jesus, I think it's easy for us to logically know the answer to this. God is the one who defines my worth. I know that. I know he loves me. I know that. Sometimes it's one thing to know something, it's another thing to believe something. And when I was 21, I was doing what I do now, and I could probably tell you, hey, God defines your worth. But it's a daily process, and it's a daily invitation to remind yourself that God is a God of love, and he has designed you intentionally with a purpose. And if God really is love, if that's his character, he's got something good for you. The more you keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, the more you start to discover what he has for you. But the more we look to the left and right, the more we miss what's right in front of us, and we can miss the whole thing in entirety. And I don't want that for you guys. And guys, it's a process to move it from here to here, but it's a daily process. And when you accept that daily invitation to follow Jesus, I promise you guys, comparison fades, contentment begins. Contentment to say, because of Jesus, I am enough. During the 4 years of high school, there's nothing I desire more for you guys. That's what I want to talk about tonight in small groups. Let me pray for us. We'll head right there. Heavenly Father, God, you are so good. God, you are the creator of the universe, and you've created me intentionally, on purpose, for a purpose. And God, that is true for every single person in this room and every person that's watching online. God, would you remind us tonight and this week of the ways that you have designed us intentionally? God, would you remind us that anytime that we look to the left and right and we feel like we need to compare ourselves to a human standard of measurement, would you remind us that you are the God of the universe and that what you say about us actually defines our worth and value? That it's not based off any human measurement, but it's based off what you say about us. And God, you call us fearfully and wonderfully made, and you call us your children. And Father, I pray for every single person in this room that they are reminded of those truths this week. Father, we love you and we trust you. It's in Jesus' name. Amen. Y'all, we're going to break off into small groups.